Hey guys, welcome back. It's your host, Callista Polis, and today our topic is unmasking masculinity and the impact of male gender stereotypes. See, this topic is one that's not really talked about because when the topic of gender stereotypes is brought up, most of our minds are going to go to women. Let's be real. Like, when society thinks of gender stereotypes, that is the first thing we think of. What to expect in this podcast is Callista Polis, aka me, talking about the gender stereotypes around men, and you will be hearing some interesting side effects. Okay, but let's actually get to the topic. I think it's important to focus on male gender stereotypes because they are so underlooked and not talked about. When researching, I could barely find articles advocating for this topic, and that took so much more work, so I feel very passionate about this topic. But let's begin on the content of what this podcast is going to be about. So I'm going to talk about, I think, 3 big things. I'm going to talk about how men are expected to look, the stereotypes of men in the workplace and in the household, and, most importantly to me, men's mental health. Okay, the first topic, how men are expected to physically look and dress a certain way to be considered masculine.
Let's
be real. We judge people on how they look before getting to know them. And when we look at a man, we see how he's built, or the lack thereof, the way they express themselves in clothes, or I guess we can kind of put an eye on the amount of effort they put into their appearance. But let's be real, they're constantly being held to a certain standard. Everybody's being held to a certain standard when it comes to looks in today's world. We expect them to dress simply, but not too simple, but also not putting in too much effort because that's feminine, right? As a society, we think spending too much time on your looks is considered feminine. And I'll admit, judging appearances is how I read someone before I meet them. I mean, we stereotype everything that we can. Like, a businessman wears a suit, a homeless man wears rags. But regardless of what we may think, clothes are just clothes. And labeling clothes with gender causes problems. I don't know about you, but I feel like these stereotypes can create pressure for men to mold into something they are not, which that can lead to body image issues and unhealthy behaviors. And I feel like we focus so heavily on women's body image issues and unhealthy behaviors like eating disorders, etc. But when do we mention men? When do we mention body image issues within men and eating disorders in them as well? I don't know. I feel like in today's society, looks and appearances can mean everything to someone, whether it's the way my hair looks, the way my clothes looks, the body type, the amount of effort I put in. That's all considered feminine. But labeling clothing and appearance with stereotypes limits how someone can express themselves. Why can't a man wear what they want just as a woman can? That makes no sense. So, I'll stop talking about this topic, but I just feel like addressing the stereotype, we can promote a more realistic understanding of the real beauty of men, while allowing them to be confident and accepted no matter how they look. Moving on to my next big stereotype though, men are stereotyped to not take on feminine roles in the household and workplace, and this is a big one that has been here for forever. I feel like since the dawn of time, women are expected to clean the house, take care of the children, do the dishes, do the inside chores. But as time has gone on, I think more men are starting to take on these roles, but they are reluctant due to the stigma around titles like stay-at-home dad. When women are called stay-at-home moms, they're praised. Oh, you're so lucky your husband and you can afford to be a stay-at-home mom. But when someone's labeled stay-at-home dad, they're like, ooh, you're not the breadwinner. That's not acceptable. I feel like when men are born, there's a heavy pressure put on them to carry out successful careers, but that also limits women who are seeking the same type of success. This stereotype goes both ways and is insanely harmful to society. To the men listening to this podcast, you may have been told you have to be strong, dominant, and successful. Otherwise, you must be gay or too feminine. But masculinity is not tied to being strong. It is not tied to being dominant and successful. Masculinity is what you make it to be. Nothing can change the fact that you are who you are. And in my research, after a study was conducted, it was determined that men feel less of a man if their wives are the financial providers of the household, and that due to this, they may do even less housework. Personally, when I hear the title traditional household, I think, oh, okay, women do the chores and help out the kids, their motherly duties. They stay at home. This leaves the men doing the work, earning the money, being the breadwinner. But I kind of feel like this leaves an unequal balance of the distribution of the labor in the household because men are taking on less family duties, women aren't doing work, and when men take on the role of what women are doing in the household, the chores, the childcare, I feel like they're looked down upon as weak and less of a man because they are pressured from childhood to be the breadwinner and the man of the house. If staying home is such a normal thing for women to do, why do men have to have extreme reasons for being a stay-at-home dad? I feel like it's okay for there to be an unequal balance in pay with the woman being the financial provider of the house. It should not label someone as weak or less of a man. Aside from the household duties, stereotypes in the workplace are very common as well. The likelihood that you get hired for a job can solely be based on your gender, which is crazy to me. A job is a job, no matter what gender you are. When it comes to labeling different jobs with gender, this is not only harmful to someone's goals, but the outcome of the job opportunity themselves. Certain jobs like firefighters, financiers, policemen, they're seen as masculine, and employers may be looking to hire men more than women. But jobs like nursing and teaching, they will be seen as feminine, and that will prompt more women to be hired than men. Why can't you choose the job that you're interested in without someone looking down on you because it's stereotypically a masculine or feminine job? Jobs are needed for a reason, and your gender does not change that qualification that you have or your reasoning to be hired. If I'm hurt and in the hospital, I'm not going to look at my doctor or nurse and see, oh, that's a man. Oh, he's not qualified. This is a woman's job. I'm not going to call the police and see a woman come and say, oh, she can't help me. She's a woman. It does not matter. If you are qualified for the job, you are qualified for the job. I do not care if you're a man or a woman, and that should not matter to society either. My last stereotype that I want to talk about is men not having emotion is pushed, leading to problems with mental health and suicide. I feel like as a society, we're not terrible about dealing with mental health. I don't think that's a problem. I feel like the problem of men shouldn't have emotions, or men can't speak out about it, or men are not allowed to do that because it's not considered strong. That's considered weak. But I feel like that is a negative and terrible stereotype itself. Regardless what some may say, it has been shown that men tend to not open up about their feelings, and a lot of them don't seek help for a variety of reasons. Maybe the pressure of societal norms and judgment in different environments. When researching, I did find a study that found that men who cried at work were perceived as less competent than women who cried. And more than 1/3 of boys think society expects them to be strong and tough. And a lot of the times quotes like, be a man and suck it up are told to them. Phrases like the ones I just said are deteriorating to both men and women because not only do they label femininity as a bad thing, but it also pushes men to have an unrealistic idea of what a man is supposed to be. I was so passionate about this topic that I decided to make my own survey, and I asked 2 questions in this survey. Would you feel comfortable talking to a medical professional or therapist about mental health problems? And I also asked, if you are/were seeing a therapist or medical professional for your mental health, would you be comfortable with your friends knowing? I got 67 responses that were applicable to my survey, and 37 of them were male and 30 of them were female. Now, when I looked at the results, 37% of men said that they would talk to a therapist or medical professional and would also be open to their friends knowing about them seeking help. The number is very low compared to the 60% of women who answered yes to both questions. And out of the ones who didn't say yes, 53% of the males said no to both questions, but only 10% of women said no to both questions. And that shows the high rate of males who would not seek help at all. Once I looked at the results of my surveys, they showed the difference between the standards that men and women are set to when it comes to showing emotions. I'm going to be honest, these results were not shocking because that is what is considered normal now. Normality is what society believes to be normal, but I feel like these results show how unequal the standards are between men and women. But as I continue this topic, I'd like to mention how the mental health affects men when it comes to suicide. I do have a sad statistic that was provided by the CDC, which is the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. and it states that males make up 50% of the population, but a sad nearly 80% of suicides. Suicide is the biggest killer of men under 50 years old in today's world. This topic hits home for me as my uncle did commit suicide because ultimately he felt like he couldn't open up about the suicidal thoughts that he was having. He felt weak. He did not feel that opening up would display him as strong. And that is how it goes, and that should not be a factor in men's life in today's world. It should not be seen as weak to open up about how you feel. Everybody is strong. Whatever you've gone through, you are strong, and it is okay to open up about it because that does not make you weak. If this stereotype doesn't go away, we're going to continue to see a decline in men's mental health and an incline in suicides for men because roughly 100 suicides are by men daily in America. Regardless, man or woman, showing emotion is normal and healthy. I think America and society in general needs to start focusing on men's mental health and advocating for them. They should have a voice too. It should not be weak to have a voice. It is okay to have emotions. It is okay to dress how you want, express how you want. It's fine to be a stay-at-home dad. It's fine to do house chores and work whatever job you want. You can be a nurse. You can be a teacher. That is not a woman job. Women, you can be a policeman. You can be a fireman. That is not a male job. There needs to be a call for action on stereotypes in general. Although my whole thing is about men, stereotypes perpetrate an often harmful view of masculinity, of femininity, which can limit emotional expression and personal growth for both genders. But specifically men, these stereotypes focus on traits like toughness, dominance, and discourages vulnerability and sensitivity. From birth to adulthood, us men and women are set with the ideals that men do these duties and women do those duties. Why can it not just be jobs to be filled, regardless of gender? Although I might not have specific solutions, I feel like challenging the stereotypes alone might be the first step. I could personally claim that asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness, and roles and chores are not defined by gender. But by challenging and dismantling these stereotypes, society can become more inclusive and allow men to express themselves freely and authentically, resulting in a healthier life for everyone.
Thank you for listening to Callista Talks. Come back for the next controversial episode.